All right, you all. Sorry, I'm running a little bit late, a little behind time, but we are here. Hope that you all come on in for this special podcast. I told you that we're going to be doing several of these leading all the way up to the election. Don't have any particular number on how many that we will be doing. But before we do that, I certainly want to ask you all to continue to pray for my co host, that he has a speedy recovery, Charles Thomas, who has been out for a few weeks, but I believe he's getting better. So hopefully he'll be back with us very, very soon. I was hoping to be able to get somebody on to talk with me tonight about these issues that I wanted to talk about. And one of the things that I want to talk about, of course, is the Illinois State Supreme Court. I want to talk about that, their decision that they made. I talked about it a little bit last night. I'm going to continue to talk about it because I think it's real travesty. And I'm concerned that it has not been widely covered by the mainstream, our local mainstream media, because I think it's very significant. That's why it's called the Supreme Court. It is supposed to operate at a higher degree and a higher level of transparency and integrity. That's what we expect of the Supreme Court, our state Supreme Court, as well as our United States Supreme Court. We know that our United States Supreme Court has been fractured for a long time, and it seems like our state Supreme Court here in Illinois is experiencing some of that same fracturing. And maybe, I didn't even think it could get worse, but to a degree that it is. To a degree that it is. And so it's really astonishing that this is what we're faced with the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, in and of itself, we're supposed to be able to rely on the Supreme Court to be that last line of defense for us. We're supposed to be able to rely on that. We're supposed to be able to rely on the Supreme Court, that Supreme Court, as our last line of defense. And here it is that we're not able to actually do that with what this Supreme Court has done. I think is one of the most egregious things that we will see. Well, I'm not going to say that we will see, but certainly one of those things that we see today. It is astonishing that 4 of the Illinois State Supreme Court justices, 4 of them, recused themselves from taking action on a petition that the ARDC, that's the Attorneys Registration Disciplinary Commission, brought forth, which is a standard practice for a jurist, an officer of the court that has been convicted of a crime. An officer of the court that has been convicted of a crime. An officer of the court that's been convicted of a crime. Ed Burke, the former alderman of the 14th Ward, the longest serving alderman in the city council, committed for racketeering, bribery, and attempted extortion. 13 of the 14 counts he was indicted. There was a grand jury that heard evidence and brought forth an indictment of 14 charges. He was convicted on 13 of the 14 charges that the grand jury brought. As standard practice, the ARDC goes before the Supreme Court and puts a petition before the Supreme Court to have that person either suspended or disbarred from practicing law in that particular region or state. They're not even able to practice law anywhere. And to my understanding, because I've called around and I've been talking to many people, been talking to several people, lawyers. I've talked to some people that are judges. I'm not going to talk about where they are actually sitting. And I've asked the question, do you know in the history of Illinois, or do you know ever at a time where someone who held a law license was convicted of a felony and not so much as even served a suspension of their license and allowed to go before the bench and practice? Nobody can recall ever knowing of an incident. Not as of yet. We're going to keep finding out because this may be the first time in history that an convicted officer of the court of not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven, not eight, not nine, not 10, not 11, not 12, but 13 counts, felony counts in federal court, convicted and was given cover by the Illinois State Supreme Court because 4 of the justices recused themselves by using the conflict of interest. There is no conflict here. There is no conflict. How do you have a conflict when someone is a criminal that you cannot hold up to your duty that you swore an oath to? Explain that to me. I do understand there are occasions. I understand that there are occasions. But this is not one of those occasions. This is one of those occasions where every member of the Supreme Court is to stand on that wall and uphold the oath that they affirmed to protect the Constitution, to defend the Constitution, and uphold the Constitution. Yet 4 of the Illinois State Supreme Court members decided the other day that they would abdicate their sworn oath to defend and uphold the Constitution of the state of Illinois and the United States of America, and gave cover to a convicted criminal, Ed Burke, and said to that convicted criminal, we're not going to hear this petition. We're going to protect you, not in words, but in their actions. We're going to protect you, and you, convicted criminal, can go and stand before the court as an officer of the court to seek truth and justice, a convicted criminal is going to go stand before a court, argue on behalf of clients before a court that has a sign over that court, and that everybody who comes in that court affirms an oath to tell nothing but the truth. Ed Burke has done anything but tell the truth. He is a convicted criminal, and our Illinois State Supreme Court justices, 4 of them, decided that they were going to give cover to Ed Burke. It has never happened before, to anybody's knowledge that I've spoken to, or we don't have some recorded history that it has ever happened. We don't have it. So here we are, where we have these different standards of justice. So there's no universal standard of justice. There's different tiers depending on who you are and what your name is. Ed Burke, I guess that is a name of deity, and even that name is above the court. That name is above accountability, according to what the justices of the state Supreme Court. And of course, they're going to hide behind secrecy. But I am telling you, we are going to do everything that we can to find out who those 4 injustices are. We're going to find out who the 4 Benedict Arnolds are. And we are going to expose these people who have been elected to uphold and to defend the Constitution. And they've abdicated that duty. I don't care what anybody says. There is no argument, no legitimate argument for what they did. Where is the mainstream media on this? I haven't seen a word of it on any of the mainstream media. How is it that a convicted criminal gets a cover by the highest court in our land, in the land of Lincoln? Cover. There's one person who is up for election on the Supreme Court, and we should organize and mobilize to vote against that person on the Supreme Court, to send a message to the Supreme Court that we are not going to stand for this. We will not forget. And every time, there's only 3 from the county of Cook. There are 3 members on the Supreme Court from the county of Cook. 2 of them that I know, and I'll have to find out the third, but there's only one that is up for election now, and that is the one who Ann Burke chose to replace her when she left the court, and all of the entire bench voted to affirm her. That is Joy Cunningham. I don't know Joy Cunningham. I have no idea of what her record is. I don't know her at all. But what I do know is that We should not send Joy Cunningham back to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court should have acted on that petition, and they should have suspended the license of Ed Burke, as they have done every other officer of the court who has been convicted of a crime. Ed Burke deserves no special treatment and certainly does not deserve to be complicit with his crimes. Our judiciary, this is a complete betrayal of the oath that they affirmed. 4 Illinois State Supreme Court justices. We don't know who they are. Their names haven't been disclosed. We can pretty much guess who they are. But regardless of that, the one that is on that court should be the one that we do not send back. I don't care how well somebody likes her or that she's a Black woman. I know that they will bring up all of these things and try to. Every Black person that is in a political position of power or a political position of influence, every Black person is not a friend of Black people. Every Black person in a position of power, in a political position of influence, does not and is not synonymous with being friends of Black people. We see incidents, we see example of that over and over and over again. So this is not a skin thing. This is a complete dereliction of duty, a betrayal of the character of what the Supreme Court judiciary, a part of our judiciary, is supposed to be about. But yet, we have these members, these 4 people who basically have said, I'll be the 4. I'll give the rest of us cover so that we don't have to hear the petition, so that we don't have to rule on the petition, that we don't have to affirm the petition, and we don't have to take the law license of a multi-millionaire and allow for a convicted felon to go out and to continue to represent people making millions and millions and millions of dollars, basically off of the taxpayers. That's what the Supreme Court, that's the message that the Supreme Court is sending to all of us. And we need to send that message right back and send the candidate that is on the ballot, and that is, I'm going to pull her name up. I think it's Justice Joy V. Cunningham. I'm going to pull her name up so that we all know who this is. Let me find the Illinois State Supreme Court justices. So let me go down here and pull up. I'll pull up. Okay, so you have, what is her name? Yeah, that is it. Justice Joy V. Cunningham. She's on the ballot, and she's on the ballot against Appellate Court Justice Reyes. And I would say to you, vote for Justice Reyes as a protest vote. Even if you were not intending to vote for him to send a message to the Illinois State Supreme Court. They have basically said that this man who has committed crimes against the people of Chicago and the people of Cook County and the people of Illinois that this man deserves a pass, even though he's been convicted of 13 felony counts. We, the Supreme Court, are his armor bearer, and we're going to protect him from any consequences whatsoever. That's what this Illinois Supreme Court has done. And I believe that we should stand supreme in the ballot, that we as the voters should go to the ballot box and we should vote as a protest vote, not to send Justice Joy V. Cunningham, the hand-picked replacement by Ann Burke, the wife of the convicted felon Ed Burke. She served on the Illinois State Supreme Court. She was the Chief Justice for 3 years up to 2022. She all of a sudden decided to retire. Maybe it was the best thing to do amidst the scandal of her now convicted husband. Maybe she knew that that day was coming and it would be better for her to leave the court rather than having to leave the court in shame. Don't know how she didn't leave the court in shame. She certainly didn't leave the court with any real credibility. She certainly didn't do that. So I think that the person who is in her stead, that we should send them a message and not send them back. We should send this message to the Supreme Court, to the Illinois State Supreme Court. Send her home. Send her home. Let's vote for Justice Reyes as a protest vote. There's been some egregious things at this Supreme Court over the last 10, 12 years. P. Scott Neville shouldn't be on the court. He doesn't deserve to be on the court. He shouldn't be there, but he's there because the Supreme Court decided not to honor their long-standing history that the retiring Supreme Court justice, just as Ann Burke did, chose their replacement. And when he chose his replacement, they rejected his replacement, which is probably the smartest, most qualified person in the entire judiciary of all of Cook County in Illinois. And that is the appellate court justice, Cynthia Cobbs, a bright, brilliant, beautiful Black woman who is more qualified than just about anybody that you come across on the bench. P. Scott Neville was handpicked by the members of the court, and they installed him at the court, not because he's qualified, but because he might be the most qualified to be controlled. Now, P. Scott Neville and the rest of them, all of them, all 7 of them are complicit. We don't know which 4 recused themselves, so the entire body couldn't hear the petition. So they're all complicit. You couldn't dare. There was a woman who ran for judge, in Cook County, won the primary, and then she presided over some cases in the courts, and she was ultimately charged for a crime. And then, and then she ended up taking her life. She ended up taking her life. I'm trying to find that story. Let's see. Let's see if I can find that story here. Find that story of life after winning the judge. I believe it was in 2015. Let's see, was it 2015? Maybe. Maybe it was 2015. I'm trying to find that story. Okay, but the person, I believe, who was it? I can't remember her name. I don't know if it was. I don't want to call the name because there's several names here, and I'd have to read them to make sure. But we're going to talk about this again. I want to bring it back to you again. I want to talk about some other things, but let me just say to you, please, 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 as a protest vote, as a protest vote. Let me say it again for those of you who may have just joined us. The Illinois State Supreme Court, 4 of the justices on the Illinois State Supreme Court recused themselves from hearing a petition from the Attorney Registration Disciplinary Commission, which is ARDC. That is the commission that has oversight over the oversight over the attorneys, right? Where you can lodge complaints and they look into these complaints, but they also place recommendations and they place petitions before the court when somebody is convicted of a crime to be suspended or to be disbarred. They are the disciplinary arm, which is controlled by the Illinois State Supreme Court. The Illinois State Supreme Court, the ARDC, put forth a petition because Ed Burke is convicted of 13 of 14 charges in federal court, racketeering, bribery, and attempted extortion. He's convicted of these. He is now a known criminal. He is a known criminal. They went to the Illinois State Supreme Court to ask for them to listen to the petition for a suspension, not even a disbarment, but a suspension of his license. And the Illinois State Supreme Court decided to do this. They decided that what we're going to do is we're going to abdicate our responsibility. We're going to abdicate our oath. We're going to give a pass to a known criminal by recusing ourselves from hearing the petition so that we don't have to vote in the affirmative to suspend a known criminal's license. That's what they did. They betrayed the trust of the public to give cover and protection of a known criminal that has abused the public's trust for decades while in office. And our Illinois State Supreme Court gave cover to that. They gave him a prophylactic. They shielded him and protected him from any real accountability. That's what they did. So they're complicit and basically condone his criminal activity. Nobody is going to convince me. Nobody's going to convince me that there was any kind of conflict between the ARDC and the justices, because this was the ARDC's petition that they were bringing forth. So there is no conflict. They can't hide behind that lie, or certainly we shouldn't allow for them to hide behind that lie. Not at all. It is pretty egregious. Hopefully, I will be able to find somebody who is in the judiciary that would be willing to come on and have a conversation without any reservations of retaliation. So it will probably have to be somebody who is retired, that's not practicing law, so that they're not compromised and that there's not some blowback from anyone in the court or on the court. But we'll find somebody, because I'd like to get a perspective from somebody else in the area who may not be practicing, but maybe was a practicing lawyer, maybe a retired judge, somebody, maybe. All right. So I want to switch to this thing with Mary Flowers. Right now, Mary Flowers is the state representative, and she's been in office for quite some time. And Mary Flowers, State Representative Mary Flowers, who represents, let's see, which district does Mary Flowers represent? She represents the 31st district. The 31st district, Mary Flowers represents. Now you have Chris Welch and others who are part of that organization that, for whatever reason, are trying, well, not trying, but running another candidate against Mary Flowers. Now, it's not so much as a candidate being run against Mary Flowers, but this was a candidate that was trumped up, propped up by Chris Welch, Derek Curtis, and Willie Preston, who claims that he's not involved, but he's involved. He's involved because he has a palm card, which I've never seen before, that he has both candidates on his palm cards, and he's on his palm card says, pick one. That is the underlay for the overlay, or the overlay for the underlay, whatever way that saying goes. That whichever wins, he can go to them and say, I had you on my palm card. Now, he called me this morning. He and I got into an exchange, and we disagree fundamentally on this issue. I like Willie Preston. I disagree what his involvement is with this. If you weren't supporting her, stay neutral, stay out of it. But don't go jump into this the way that Chris Welch is doing it, spending $1.2 million, $1.2 million in a state representative election. Unheard of. Unheard of. Now, I'd like to know what happened between Chris Welch. I want to know what happened between this Take a look at this.
As Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives, I am honored to congratulate our Deputy Majority Leader, Representative Mary Flowers, for the National Distinguished Advocacy Award from the American Cancer Society Action Network. Leader Flowers is the quintessential elected representative. She is well convicted in her values. She practices determination, and she has a kind heart. Most importantly, she knows how marginalized communities can be better served by government. Those are the qualities Leader Flowers brings with her into every issue and every debate. This is particularly the case when it comes to access to health care. During her more than 30 years in the General Assembly, Leader Flowers has advanced efforts to improve disadvantaged communities' access to health care. Because of her help, Illinois became the first state to pass comprehensive biomarker testing, which will help residents receive access to the proper cancer treatment at the right time. Marginalized communities, including communities of color and people of less privileged socioeconomics, are less likely to receive biomarker testing. People in rural communities and those receiving care in non-academic medical centers are less likely to benefit from biomarker testing. But because of Leader Flowers, these communities will have greater access. This is in addition to other initiatives, including empowering patients to predict better and plan their health needs. Those diagnosed with cancer need every inch of help we can give, and we owe it to ourselves as a society to beat the disease. Everyone has a role to play, and that's what Leader Flowers is fighting for. I am proud to call Leader Flowers a diligent advocate, a serious leader, a fine representative, and my friend. Congratulations, Mary. May God bless the American Cancer Society and all of our cancer patients who can have a little more hope as science and public health continue to advance.
Now, I'd like to know what happened between that and today. What happened between that and today now, who has a PAC of $1.2 million spending in the 31st district election? What happened with this fine leader, the quintessential representative? What happened between then and now? Somebody should raise the question to Chris Welch. Why are you raising $1.2 million that you're getting from these PACs or these unions? Why is it $1.2 million unheard of being spent in a state representative election? Now, this is really not about Mary Flowers versus the propped up candidate that nobody knows anything about, that doesn't really have any kind of track record other than the fact he is a teacher. And I believe that he's taught in some charter schools or something like that. Calls himself doctor, PhD or whatever. Chris Welch, what happened between then and now? That speech you gave, now either that disingenuous speech must have been disingenuous, or maybe not. But I want to know what happened between this.
As Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives, I am honored to congratulate our Deputy Majority Leader, Representative Mary Flowers, for the National Distinguished Advocacy Award from the American Cancer Society Action Network. Leader Flowers is the quintessential elected representative.
The quintessential elected representative. What happened to the quintessential elected representative? I'd like to know.
As Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives, I am honored to congratulate our Deputy Majority Leader, Representative Mary Flowers, for the National Distinguished Advocacy Award from the American Cancer Society Action Network. Leader Flowers is the quintessential elected representative. She is well convicted in her values. She practices determination, and she has a kind heart. Most importantly, she knows how marginalized communities can be better served by government. Those are the qualities Leader Flowers brings with her into every issue and every debate. This is particularly the case when it comes to access to health care. During her more than 30 years in the General Assembly, Leader Flowers has advanced efforts to improve disadvantaged communities' access to health care.
Okay, well, that's enough. There you go. I'm just curious what happened between then and now. I'm trying to get Mary Flowers to come on, Representative Mary Flowers to come on to talk about this, try to get some real understanding. What happened that changed this opinion of the quintessential leader, representative, deputy, floor leader? What happened? What happened? Did you not get in lockstep? Did you not get in line as they wanted? What happened between now or then and now? She went from being the quintessential representative to being an opponent where you're spending $1.2 million trying to make a statement. Want to know just what happened. We're going to talk about this more. Also, we have on the north side of Chicago a notorious, as they put it, a notorious police sergeant running for judge in Cook County. Running for judge. Chicago Police Lieutenant John D. Poulos, Poulos, is running for Cook County judge in the crowded sub-circuit race on the north side of Chicago. Standing in his way is a tarnished track record that experts say calls his credibility into question. When he announced his candidacy for the Cook County judge, Chicago Police Lieutenant John D. Poulos touted the opportunity to continue my public service. Wonder what that would be. Which spans 23 years. It's a career mired in controversy and allegations of dishonesty from the start, and Injustice Watch investigation shows. An analysis of thousands of documents from internal police investigations, lawsuits, and county and federal court records reveal a man whose credibility was repeatedly called into question and a police department's repeated failures to discipline him. Poulos' tarnished track record includes 2 fatal shootings, omitting previous arrests on his application to become a police officer, which he lied on his application, and they never held him to account. Inappropriate business dealings while he was on an extended leave of absence from the police department and blocking undocumented domestic violence victims from applying for legal status. Police officials tried to fire Poulos in 2017, but failed primarily because they took more than a decade to file the charges. This background that adversely goes against his fundamental credibility should not be hanging over a judge under any circumstances, said Joseph Ferguson, a former federal prosecutor who until 2021 was Chicago's inspector general. It's hard to imagine he would even be in a position but for the fact that CPD's management of disciplinary matters back in the 2000s resulted in the dismissal of misconduct charges against him. Ferguson said, "This is a man who should have gone before a court, charged with 2 shootings. I hope that this man does not come out as the winner that will be going to put on and adorn a black robe with this record as a judge in Cook County. The arrogance, the unmitigated gall that this person would take. But I guess if you can get away with as much as he's gotten away with, sort of like some other people that we know, then you might very well say he believes that he can do this. I want you all to keep watch on all of these things. When I come next time, we're going to be talking more about what's happening at the Board of Review. That is critical. That is critical. Larry Rogers Jr. is, again, one of those black people who is not a friend of black people. I know he's nice, smiles, he comes to events, he makes contributions. Anybody who makes as much money as he makes, look, you even had gangsters, murderers who made contributions. Contributions don't necessarily make you some sort of benevolent individual. Excuse me. But Larry Rogers Jr. is an absolute threat to the welfare of the black community on the south side of Chicago and the south suburbs, who continues to give multi-million-dollar tax cuts to wealthy property owners by devaluing their property so that they can pay fewer dollars in taxes and pass those tax burdens on to the people of the south and southwest side. That's what Larry Rogers Jr. is doing. He shifted over $500 million in 2021, over $800 million in 2022. And guess who had to pay those tax cuts that Larry Rogers Jr. voted in favor of for those tax appeal attorneys that gives him thousands of dollars of contributions? You as a homeowner and all of the homeowners had to pay their fair share of somebody else's tax responsibility. Imagine this. Somebody else's taxes get shifted to you, and you have to pay that person's bill for their property for which you do not own, nor do you get any benefit from. That is what Larry Rogers Jr. has been all about at the Board of Review. It is a very, well, as a matter of fact, they don't have any oversight. Zero oversight. Zero oversight in that office. They run it whatever way they want to. They're not responsible to anyone. They can do whatever they want to do. We can make a statement to say we are going to change. It is the one office that we can fundamentally change in the county by making sure that Larry Rogers Jr. is not reelected, and we vote for Larisha Tucker to replace Larry Rogers Jr. as a reformer there. And we will see a dramatic shift in these tax appeals. That we're not paying somebody else's tax bills. Here it is, working class people. Get this, working class people subsidizing the taxes of wealthy people. Their real estate taxes, for which you will get no benefit from when they decide to sell the property at the actual value and make all kinds of profits, while they increase their profits by shifting their tax burden on you and I, saying, walking down the street saying, hey, here's a bill, go pay this bill for me. That's essentially what is happening. Larry Rogers Jr. Do not reelect. I don't care who is endorsing him. I could care less on who's endorsing him. I know he's being endorsed by all these people that many of us hold in high esteem. But the reality is that most of them are unaware of what Larry Rogers Jr. is doing, along with his colleague, George Cardenas. I have spoken to people of great intelligence, people on the judiciary who knew nothing about what Larry Rogers Jr. has been up to. And I planned on sounding the alarm and keeping the alarm loud and clear in hopes that people will go to the polls and send Larry Rogers Jr. back to his law practice, let him go and continue to make multi-millions of dollars at his law practice, but not giving away multi-million dollars tax breaks and put them on us. That's what he's doing. We have the opportunity to cut it out. All right, I'm going to leave it there for now. The next time that I come back, I hope that I'm able to have somebody from the judiciary that will be joining me to talk about this decision that came down from the Illinois State Supreme Court. 4 of the justices that decided to recuse themselves and not hold Ed Burke accountable by stripping his law license. But they said, no, you're going to keep your law license, even though you're a convicted criminal, and you can go and practice law, continue to make millions and millions of dollars until you go to jail. How about that? That's the justice or the Supreme Court that we have today. All right, that's going to do it for me. I will see you all. I will see you all on the next time. I'm not sure when tomorrow we have our 10 by 10 to win meeting. If you'd like to be a part of that, just I'm going to put it in the chat. Just text this number so that you can be in the text alert to receive the Zoom link tomorrow. So just text this to this number and you can get the 10 by 10 to win Zoom link that is going to go out tomorrow. So, all right. Well, listen, I thank all of you all for just tuning in with me, listening to my rant tonight. We're going to be continuing this, right? Share this with your friends. Ask them to become a part of the audience and viewing and participating in these episodes of the People Show. You can go to the YouTube and like and subscribe there at our YouTube at Mark Wallace, the People's Show YouTube channel. And let me know what you think. We certainly want to have more participation. I want to use this platform to inform us. We work really hard to get this information to make sure that we're passing on actual facts to the audience so that you can go with informed information to make the right decisions for our communities. Everything that we do is for the benefit of our communities to get stronger and to thrive. We have a lot of work to do, but it is going to take all of us working together. That is one of the reasons why it's so important for us to build the 10 by 10 to win independent 1 million voter voting block in order for us to slate and select our own candidates that we could run, we can support and vote for, and get elected. We can do that if we make sure that we organize and mobilize ourselves together. We're going to talk about that tomorrow night on our weekly Thursday night Zoom meeting that starts at 6:30. So text 10x10 to the number 855-909-1385 so that you will be in our text alert and you can receive the Zoom link tomorrow morning and join us tomorrow night for the weekly mobilization organizing meeting to build the most powerful Black independent voting bloc in the country. We can do this. We have the numbers. We have the ability. Make sure that you all join us tomorrow night, 6:30. Look forward to seeing you then.